addition to the definitions, there's several properties to illustrate regarding parallel and perpendicular here. And for both of these, the end result is parallel lines, but there's a couple properties that lead to parallel lines. The first is if two lines are parallel to the same line, then they're parallel to each other. So let's say we start with this line 1. Now, if we take a second line and we say that line 2 is parallel to line 1. And then let's put a second condition on here and a third line here. Let's say that line 3 is also parallel to line 1. Line 3 is parallel to line 1. If two lines are parallel to the same line, so if these two are parallel and these two are parallel, then what that means is lines 2 and 3 will also be parallel to each other. Again, pretty intuitive. Pretty intuitive, but just wanted to go through again to illustrate. Okay, this is true of planes as well. If two planes are parallel to the same plane, then they are parallel to each other. And now, not only does this work with sets of parallel lines, it also works with sets of perpendicular lines. So remember, perpendicular means meeting at 90 degrees or a right angle. If we have one line, so I'm going to start this, I'll call it line 8 here. So if line 8 and line 9 are perpendicular to each other, so if we take, if line 8 is perpendicular to line 9, and we take a second line that's perpendicular to the same first line, so let's say we take line 10 here, and it's also perpendicular to line 8. So if line 8 is also perpendicular to line 10, then the relationship that exists here is that these two perpendiculars are parallel to each other. So the result of this is that line 9 and line 10 would be parallel to each other. Okay, we're going to use this concept later in a construction to construct parallel lines, but these are the two properties to be aware of. So if two lines are parallel to the same line, they're parallel to each other. If two lines are perpendicular to the same line, they're parallel to each other. Right, again, same holds true for planes. Questions on that set of concepts? Again, it's mostly going to be used in the form of kind of sometimes true, always true, never true type of questions. So you'll be asked some true-false questions about these relationships. All right, the last thing just to do kind of calculation-wise before we move to constructions is to talk about how this relates to the coordinate geometry or the algebra of geometry. And that is parallel lines have slopes that are equal, whereas perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. Okay, so if we looked at the graph of two parallel lines, in order for these two parallel lines to never intersect, if you have a specific rise over run for one graph, the rise over run of the other graph has to be the exact same in order for those points of the line to never start to intersect with one another. Okay. So in this particular case, if you have a slope that is a over b, the slope of the parallel line is also going to be a over b. Okay. So parallel lines have equal slopes. Okay. They're never going to converge on each other. The slopes will be equal. Therefore, the lines will be parallel. Okay. Let's contrast that again to perpendicular lines that do intersect. So if you do have perpendicular lines, not only are those lines going to intersect, but there's a specific relationship between their slopes as well. If our original line had a slope of a over b, the slope of the perpendicular to that is going to be the negative reciprocal. It means that you switch the sign and you flip the fraction. So the parallel line is going to have a slope of negative b over a. So let's say, if we were looking at this, if the slope of this line were 2 over 3, so up 2 over 3, then the slope of this perpendicular to that is going to be the opposite, and then the reciprocal, 3 over 2. And the other way to say this, the negative reciprocals, also means that their product will be negative 1. So if you wanted to, you could also figure out what number would you have to multiply by to get a negative 1, and that'll be the slope of the perpendicular.